The day Zainab told the truth, nobody believed her. Not a single soul. And that was the day she needed belief the most. You see, Zainab had spent her entire life lying about everything. Everything. Her job, her travels, her family, her entire existence was built on stories that never happened. So when she finally opened her mouth to speak the truth, when she screamed for help, when she begged people to save her, her voice sounded exactly like every lie she had ever told. This is her story. In the bustling neighborhood of Suralere, Lagos, there lived a young woman named Zainab. Beautiful. Yes. Charming. Absolutely. But there was one problem. One big, terrible problem that followed her everywhere like a shadow she could not shake off. Zainab was a liar. Not the kind of liar who told small lies to escape trouble. No, no, no. Zainab lied for sport. For entertainment. For absolutely no reason at all. In her compound, in her street, in the entire neighborhood of Suralere, her name had become a joke. When Zainab spoke, people listened with one ear and threw away the words with the other. It was a sunny afternoon at Mama Ngozi's hair salon when Zainab made her latest announcement. My uncle just bought me a Range Rover, she said, her voice loud enough for every woman under those hairdryers to hear. It's being shipped from Dubai. Custom made. Gold rims. She continued, painting the picture with her hands as though she could pull the car from thin air. The women exchanged glances. Eyes rolled in perfect timing, like a dance they had rehearsed 1,000 times before. Yotund, her closest friend, did not even look up from her phone. Zainab, if lies were money, you would be richer than Dangote. The salon erupted in laughter. The kind of laughter that cuts and caresses at the same time. Affectionate, yes, but mocking all the same. Zainab laughed along with them. Unbothered. Unfazed. This was her life. This was her stage. And she played her part perfectly. You see, Zainab lied about everything. She told people she worked as a senior executive at a multinational company in Victoria Island. The truth. She was a receptionist at a small accounting firm in Ikeja. Small office, small desk, small salary. She posted pictures on Instagram, photoshopped images of herself standing in front of the Eiffel Tower, the Burj Khalifa, Times Square. Her captions were filled with hashtags. Blessed. Living my best life. God is good. But Zainab had never left Lagos. Not even once. Not even to Abuja. People tolerated her because beneath all the lies, beneath all the stories, Zainab had a good heart. She helped neighbors when they needed money for hospital bills. She laughed easily. She loved deeply, even if that love was wrapped in layers of lies and deception. But tolerance is not the same thing as trust. And Zainab, for all her beauty, for all her charm, was trusted by nobody. Before we continue with Zainab's story, do me a favor. If you're enjoying this, subscribe to Folktales by Amora and turn on that notification bell. You don't want to miss what happens next. Trust me. Now, back to Zainab. That evening, she returned home to find her mother in the kitchen, stirring a pot of egusi soup. The aroma filled the small compound, mixing with the sounds of generators humming and neighbors arguing about football. Her mother looked up as Zainab walked in, and without even asking, she knew. She always knew. You've been telling lies again, her mother said. Not a question. A statement. Zainab waved her hand, dismissive. Mama, it's just more lies. I'm not hurting anybody. Her mother stopped stirring. She turned to face her daughter, her eyes heavy with the kind of knowledge that only comes from living long enough to see patterns repeat themselves. One day, her mother said slowly, you will lie yourself into real trouble. And when that day comes, nobody will believe you. Not even when you're speaking the truth. Zainab laughed. Mama, you worry too much. A small lie today, her mother continued, ignoring the dismissal, becomes a big problem tomorrow. But Zainab did not listen. She never did. Everything changed the day Connor moved into the compound. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with a smile that could make even the most stubborn heart soften. He had just returned from South Africa, people whispered. A software engineer. Successful. Quiet, but the kind of quiet that spoke volumes. The first time they met, Zainab was sitting under the almond tree with a group of neighbors, right in the middle of one of her stories. Yes, I studied at the University of London, she said, her voice confident, practiced. International relations. Graduated top of my class. Really? The voice came from behind her. Smooth. Curious. Genuinely interested. Zainab turned, her heart doing a small jump she did not expect. She had not noticed him standing there. He was new. He was watching her with eyes that seemed to see more than she wanted them to see. Oh, yes, she said quickly. King's College London. Connor nodded slowly, a small smile playing at the corner of his lips. Interesting. Which year did you graduate? I have a friend who lectured there. The question hung in the air like smoke. 2015, Zainab said, the life forming faster than her thoughts. What was your dissertation topic? We didn't do dissertations for that program. Really? That's strange. International relations usually requires. It was a special program, Zainab interrupted, feeling the ground shifting beneath her. Connor studied her face for a long moment. Then he smiled. Not mockingly. Not cruelly. Just knowingly. I see, he said. Then he walked away. And somehow, that terrified her more than being called out would have. Over the next few weeks, Connor and Zainab kept running into each other. In the compound. At the gate. By the water tap. He never called her out. Never embarrassed her in front of others. But his eyes always carried that look. That gentle amusement that made her feel like a child caught stealing sugar. One evening, she found him on the balcony of his apartment. The Lagos skyline stretched before them, painted in shades of orange and purple by the dying sun. Generators hummed below. Somewhere, a street vendor shouted about fresh fish. Why do you do it? He asked without turning to look at her. Zainab knew exactly what he meant, but she asked anyway. Do what? Lie. He turned to face her now, his voice completely free of judgment. You're smart. You're beautiful. You're funny when you're being yourself. Why hide behind all these stories? Nobody had ever asked her that before. Nobody had ever cared enough to ask. Zainab looked away, suddenly uncomfortable with how gentle his voice was. Maybe because the real me is boring, she said quietly. Maybe people like the stories more than they would like the truth. Connor reached out. His hand was warm as he tilted her chin gently, making her look at him. I like the truth, he said simply. Try me. For just a moment, Zainab wanted to. She wanted to tell him everything. The truth about her job, about her life, about why she lied. But the walls she had built were so high, and she did not know how to climb down from them. Instead, she pulled away and forced a laugh. The truth is boring, Connor. But I'll tell you one truth right now. What's that? I think I'm starting to like you. Connor's grin was slow and genuine. Now that, he said, I actually believe. Over the following weeks, something beautiful and unexpected began to grow between Connor and Zainab. He was patient. Frustratingly patient. He saw through every single one of her lies but stayed anyway. When she told neighbors she had been promoted to manager at her company, Connor simply raised an eyebrow across the room but said nothing. When she claimed her father was a retired army general, Connor squeezed her hand under the table. a silent message. I know. But I'm still here. For the first time in her entire life, Zainab felt something she had not felt in years. Safe. Safe enough to maybe, just maybe, start peeling back the layers. But then Musa entered the picture, and everything fell apart. Musa was a big man. Not just in size, but in presence. He owned 3 businesses in Suralia. A lounge. A car wash. A logistics company. His name carried weight. When he walked into a room, conversations shifted. People adjusted. People paid attention. But Musa was also known for something else. His temper. His connections. The way he made problems disappear. People whispered about him. About things he had done. People he had hurt. But nobody spoke openly. Fear, you see, has a way of sealing mouths shut and keeping secrets buried. Zainab first encountered Musa at a birthday party in the neighborhood. The music was loud, the drinks were flowing, and the crowd pressed in from all sides like a living thing. He approached her near the drinks table. His breath was heavy with alcohol and something darker. "You're beautiful," he said, his eyes moving over her in a way that made her skin crawl. "What's your name?" "Zainab," she said, trying to step back. But the crowd was too tight, too close. "Zainab." He repeated her name slowly, like he was tasting it. "I like you. Come work for me. I need a smart girl like you in my office." "I already have a job," Zainab said quickly, her voice firm despite the unease creeping up her spine. Musa laughed. The sound was ugly. "Everyone can use a better job, my dear. I'll pay you well. Very, very well." His hand reached out and touched her waist. Possessive. Inappropriate. Crossing every boundary without permission. Zainab pushed his hand away, her heart pounding now. "I said no. Thank you, but no." The smile disappeared from Musa's face like someone had switched off a light. His eyes went cold. "Dangerous. You're rejecting me?" he asked quietly, too quietly. "I'm just not interested," Zainab said, her voice steady even though her hands were shaking. Musa leaned in close. So close she could smell the alcohol and anger on him. His voice dropped to a whisper that somehow felt louder than shouting. "No one rejects me, Zainab. Nobody." That night, Zainab could not sleep. She lay in her bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying that moment over and over. There was something in Musa's eyes. Something that promised consequences. The next morning, she did what she always did when she felt cornered, when she felt afraid, when she needed protection she did not have. She lied. At the hair salon, with Yotan and 3 other women within earshot, Zainab spoke loudly. Deliberately. "I can't be involved with anyone right now," she announced, examining her nails as though the words were casual. "My fiancé in America wouldn't like it. He's very protective. Actually, he's a Marine. Special Forces. Very dangerous man." The lie was smooth. Practiced. It rolled off her tongue like honey. And just like every other lie Zainab had ever told, it spread. Within 2 days, everyone in Suralia knew. Zainab was engaged to an American soldier. A Marine. Special Forces. Everyone knew. Including Musa. When Musa heard the story, he did not get angry. He did not make a scene. He simply smiled. That cold, knowing smile. Because Musa knew a lie when he heard one. And he did not appreciate being played for a fool. 1 week later, Zainab was leaving her office in Ikeja. The sun had already set, and the streets were that particular kind of busy that only Lagos understands. Hawkers shouting. Buses honking. People rushing home before the real darkness set in. A car pulled up beside her. Slow. Deliberate. The window rolled down. Musa. Get in, he said, his voice casual like he was offering a friend a ride. Let's talk. I'm fine, thank you, Zainab said, walking faster now, her bag clutched tight against her side. The car followed her. Slowly. Like a predator that knew the prey could not escape. I know about your American Marine, Musa said, his voice dripping with mockery. Funny thing. I made some calls. Asked around. Checked with some people who would know. Zainab's heart began to pound. Nobody knows him, Zainab. Nobody has seen him. Nobody has even heard of him. It's almost like he doesn't exist. She kept walking. Faster now. Her heels clicking against the pavement like a countdown. You lied to me, Musa continued, his voice hardening like cement. I don't like liars, Zainab. I think you need to learn some respect. The car door opened. Two men stepped out. Panic exploded in Zainab's chest like fireworks. She did not think. She did not plan. She just ran. She ran like her life depended on it, because maybe, just maybe, it did. Her bag bounced against her side. Her shoes slipped on the uneven road. Her breath came in desperate gasps that burned her lungs. Behind her, she could hear them. Not running. Walking. Laughing. They were enjoying this. The chase. The fear. Zainab burst through the compound gate, her voice tearing from her throat in a scream that came from somewhere deep and primal. Help. Somebody help me. Please. Neighbors came out of their rooms. Doors opened. Faces appeared at windows. Blessing, the older woman who lived 2 doors down, stepped into the courtyard. Others followed. What is it, Zainab? What happened? Musa. Zainab gasped, pointing back toward the gate, her whole body shaking. He's after me. He tried to grab me. He's dangerous. He's going to hurt me. Please, you have to help me. The neighbors looked at each other. Then they looked at her. And in their eyes, Zainab saw something that made her blood run cold. Doubt. Blessing folded her arms across her chest. Zainab, are you making up stories again? No. The word ripped out of her like a wound. I'm serious. He's out there right now. He's going to hurt me. Please, please believe me. But the looks on their faces told her everything she needed to know. They did not believe her. How could they? This was Zainab. The girl who cried Range Rover. The girl who cried London degree. The girl who cried American Marine. Someone in the back muttered, loud enough for her to hear, maybe if you stopped lying so much. I'm not lying. Zainab screamed, tears streaming down her face now, hot and desperate. Please. This is real. This is. Zainab, calm down, Yotam said, stepping forward with a face that mixed sympathy with doubt. Maybe you just had a scare, you know how these Lagos streets are. Let's get you inside. You can rest, Anne. I don't need rest. Zainab's voice cracked completely, breaking into pieces. I need protection. I need someone to believe me. And then, through the small crowd, someone pushed forward. Connor. His eyes found Zainab's face immediately. He saw the terror there. The genuine, raw, undeniable fear. Not performance. Not exaggeration. Real fear. Something in him shifted. Hardened. Decided. Come with me, he said firmly, reaching for her hand. Connor, she's probably just exaggerating again, someone said from the crowd. Connor turned, and when he spoke, his voice cut through the murmurs like a knife. Did you see what happened? Were you there? Silence. No. Then keep your mouth shut. He led Zainab to his apartment, locked the door behind them, and sat her down on his small couch. His movements were careful, gentle, but his jaw was tight with something that looked like barely controlled anger. "Tell me everything," he said quietly. "The truth this time, Zainab. All of it." And for the first time in years, Zainab did exactly that. She told him about the party, about Musa's advances, the way he touched her, the threat in his voice. She told him about the lie she had created to protect herself, the American Marine who did not exist. She told him how that lie had made everything worse, had painted a target on her back. When she finished, Connor was quiet for a long, heavy moment. Then he said 3 words that broke something open inside her chest. "I believe you." Zainab started crying. Not the delicate tears from earlier, but deep, shaking sobs that came from a place she had kept locked away for too long. "No one else does," she choked out between gasps. "And it's my fault. It's all my fault. I did this to myself." Connor pulled her into his arms, holding her with a gentleness that made her feel both fragile and protected at the same time. "It's not your fault that he's a predator," Connor said quietly into her hair. "Yes, you lied. Yes, that complicated things. But that does not give him the right to threaten you. Do you hear me?" "What do I do?" Zainab whispered. "What do I do now?" Connor's arms tightened around her. "We handle it," he said. "Together." The next few days felt like living inside a nightmare that refused to end. Connor did not leave Zainab's side. He walked her to work in the morning, even though it meant waking up earlier than necessary. He picked her up in the evening, waiting outside her office building with a patience that made her want to cry all over again. He made sure she was never alone. And Musa's car appeared everywhere, circling the compound like a shark that smelled blood in the water. Slow, deliberate. A constant reminder that he had not forgotten. That he was still there. Still watching. Still waiting. The neighbors noticed, of course. In a compound like theirs, nothing went unnoticed. But when they saw Musa's car, when they saw Zainab's fear, they said nothing. After all, it was just Zainab and her stories. But Connor was not sitting idle. While Zainab tried to keep her hands from shaking every time a car drove past, Connor was walking. Quietly. Carefully. He started asking questions. Not loud, confrontational questions that would draw attention. Subtle questions. The kind you ask over a beer, over a casual conversation, the kind that slip into dialogue like they were never planned at all. He spoke to people who knew Musa. People who had worked for him. People who had businesses near his lounge. And slowly, carefully, a picture began to form. A dark, ugly picture that made Connor's jaw tighten with barely controlled rage. Zainab was not the first. There were others. Other women. Women who had rejected Musa's advances and paid for it. One woman lost her job after Musa called her boss with lies. Another had her shop vandalized, the windows smashed in the middle of the night, and when she went to the police, they told her there was no evidence. Another woman, a girl really, barely 22, had simply disappeared from the neighborhood. Moved away suddenly, people said. But the way they said it, the way their voices dropped and their eyes shifted, told Connor everything he needed to know. Musa was not just a bully. He was a predator. And he had been getting away with it for years because fear kept people silent and power kept him protected. Connor compiled everything he found. Testimonies, patterns, timelines. He took it to a friend, a journalist who worked for one of the online news platforms that had been gaining traction for exposing corruption. They met at a small bar in Yoba, away from Suraleh, away from eyes that might report back. "This man needs to be stopped," Connor said, sliding a folder across the table. His friend, Chidi, opened it. Read through the pages. His expression darkened with every line. Do you have proof? Chidi asked. Solid proof. Because Musa has connections, guy. This man knows people. Police, politicians, you name it. I have testimonies, Connor said. I have patterns. I have dates and names. And I have a woman who is currently being stalked by him. Right now. As we speak. Chidi looked at the file, then at Connor. This is dangerous. I know. You could make enemies. I know that too. So why are you doing this? Connor leaned back in his chair, his voice quiet but steady as stone. Because it's the right thing to do. But while Connor was building a case, Musa was building something else. Revenge. 3 days after the incident at the compound, Zainab was called into her boss's office at the accounting firm. Mr. Okonkwo was a small man with reading glasses that sat too far down his nose. He had always been kind to Zainab, in a distant, professional way. But today, his face was different. Uncomfortable. Apologetic in that way people are when they have already made a decision they know is wrong but are going to do it anyway. Zainab, sit down, he said, not quite meeting her eyes. She sat. Her stomach already sinking. I received some information, Mr. Okonkwo began, adjusting his glasses nervously. About some discrepancies. Money that's gone missing from petty cash. Zainab's heart stopped. What? No. I never. The person who brought this to my attention is very credible, he interrupted. Very well connected. He showed me records, receipts that don't match up. Who? Zainab demanded, but she already knew. She already knew. I can't say. But with these accusations and your reputation for embellishing the truth, I just can't take the risk. My reputation. Zainab's voice was rising now, desperation creeping in like flood water. Mr. Okonkwo, I have never stolen anything in my life. This is a lie. Musa is lying because I rejected him. He's doing this to punish me. But even as the words left her mouth, she could see it in her boss's eyes. He did not believe her. I'm sorry, Zainab, Mr. Okonkwo said, and he did sound genuinely sorry. I have to let you go. Effective immediately. Zainab stood there, frozen. You're firing me. Based on lies from a man who is harassing me. I have a business to protect. And I have a life to protect. Her voice cracked. Please, Mr. Okonkwo. Please. I'm telling you the truth. For once in my life, I am telling you the truth. But he had already turned away, shuffling papers on his desk like she was no longer there. Zainab walked out of that office in a daze. The security guard escorted her to her desk, watched as she packed her few belongings into a box. A photo frame. A coffee mug. A sweater she kept for when the air conditioning got too cold. Her entire professional life fit into one small box. When she got back to the compound, she went straight to Yoton's room. Her friend was braiding a customer's hair, but she looked up when Zainab entered, her eyes red and swollen. Zainab, what happened? I got fired, Zainab said, her voice hollow. Musa told my boss I was stealing. It's a lie. It's all a lie. He's destroying my life because I said no to him. The customer and Yoton exchanged a glance. Quick. Almost imperceptible. But Zainab saw it. Are you sure it was him? Yoton asked carefully. Zainab felt something cold settle in her chest. What do you mean, am I sure? I mean, maybe your boss had other reasons. Maybe there was actually something missing and you don't believe me. It was not a question. It was a realization that hit like a slap. It's not that I don't believe you, Yoton said quickly. It's just, you know how you are, Zainab. Sometimes you exaggerate things, and I am not exaggerating. Zainab shouted. He is harassing me. He got me fired. Why can nobody see this? Why can nobody believe me? The customer looked down, suddenly very interested in her phone. Yotan's face was a mixture of pity and doubt. Maybe you should just apologize to him, Yotan said quietly. Whatever you did to offend him, just apologize. Make peace. This doesn't have to continue. Zainab stared at her best friend like she was speaking a foreign language. Apologize, she repeated. Apologize for what? For rejecting his advances. For not wanting to be another one of his victims. You're being dramatic again. Those 4 words. Those 4 words broke something inside Zainab that she did not know could break. She left Yutan's room without another word. Over the next week, Zainab tried to tell her story to others in the compound. Tried to explain what Musa was doing to her. But every single time, she was met with the same response. Doubt. Skepticism. That look. That terrible, soul-crushing look that said, here she goes again. Zainab, why would such a big man waste his time chasing you? Maybe you're taking things too seriously. Men like that, they just play around. Are you sure you didn't lead him on? You know how you like to form. This girl and her stories. When will you rest? Each comment was a knife. Small. Sharp. Cutting deeper than the last. Connor remained her only anchor. Her only believer. But even his presence could not stop the isolation from creeping in like fog. Zainab stopped going out. Stopped attending compound meetings. Stopped sitting under the almond tree where neighbors gathered. She stayed in her room, staring at the ceiling, replaying her mother's words over and over like a curse that had finally come true. Nobody will believe you. Not even when you're speaking the truth. One evening, Blessing knocked on her door. The older woman held a plate of jollof rice, her face soft with what looked like genuine concern. Zainab, you have to eat something. You're wasting away. I'm fine, Zainab said, not moving from her bed. Blessing entered anyway, setting the plate on the small table. She sat down on the edge of the bed, her voice gentle. Look, I know things are hard right now. But maybe you should consider that you brought some of this on yourself. Zainab turned to look at her, unable to believe what she was hearing. Blessing continued, apparently not noticing the expression on Zainab's face. All those lies you told, all those stories. You created a situation where nobody can tell when you're serious. So now, even if Musa is truly bothering you, how are we supposed to know? How are we supposed to separate truth from fiction? So it's my fault. Zainab's voice was barely a whisper. It's my fault that a man is harassing me. It's my fault that nobody believes me when I ask for help. That's not what I'm saying. Get out. Blessing stood, startled. Zainab. Get out. After Blessing left, Zainab curled into herself on the bed and cried. Not the loud, dramatic crying she might have performed before. This was quiet. Hollow. The kind of crying that comes when you have run out of everything else. She whispered to herself, over and over, like a prayer or a plea or a punishment. I'm not lying. I'm not lying. I'm not lying. But even to her own ears, even in the privacy of her own room, even with no one else to convince, the word sounded uncertain. Fragile. Like a story she had told too many times. And the most terrifying part. She was beginning to doubt herself. Beginning to wonder if maybe, just maybe, this was her punishment. Not just for one lie, but for all of them. Every single fabrication, every exaggeration, every story she had spun for entertainment coming back to suffocate her when she needed air the most. Days bled into each other. Zainab stopped counting. Stopped caring. She existed in a gray space between waking and sleeping, between truth and lies, between the person she had been and the person she was becoming. Someone smaller. Someone quieter. Someone disappearing. And outside, life continued. People laughed. People talked. People forgot. But inside that small room, Zainab remained trapped. Not by walls or locks, but by the weight of every word she had ever twisted, every truth she had ever colored, every believability she had ever burned. Until there was nothing left but ashes. And a voice nobody could hear. It was a Thursday morning when everything changed. Connor had been working with Chidi for 2 weeks, compiling evidence, tracking down women who had been hurt by Musa, convincing them that this time things would be different. This time, someone would listen. The article went live at 6:47 a.m. The headline was simple, direct, devastating. Suralaya businessman exposed, multiple women accuse Musa Bakir of harassment and intimidation. By 7:15 a.m., it was trending on Twitter Nigeria. By 8 a.m., Instagram blogs had picked it up. By 9 a.m., the entire internet was on fire. The article was detailed, thoroughly researched. It named names, provided timelines, included testimonies from 5 different women. It mentioned Zainab, though not by name, as the most recent target. It described the pattern: rejection, retaliation, destruction. It exposed everything. The comment section exploded. I knew something was wrong with that man. My cousin worked for him. Same thing happened to her. Why are we always protecting these predators? Musa Bakir should be in prison. By noon, the police, who had previously ignored every complaint, were forced to act. The story was too big now. Too public. Too impossible to sweep under the expensive rugs of corruption and connections. Musa was brought in for questioning. In the compound, the atmosphere shifted like weather changing before a storm. People who had dismissed Zainab, who had doubted her, who had told her she was exaggerating, now gathered in small groups, whispering with faces that carried the weight of shame. They began to approach her door. One by one. Blessing came first, her eyes red like she had been crying. Zainab, she said when Zainab finally opened the door. We should have believed you. I should have believed you. I'm so sorry. Your turn came next, and when Zainab saw her friend's face, crumpled with guilt and regret, something inside her shifted. Not forgiveness, not yet, but recognition that they, too, were human. Flawed. Capable of failure. I should have trusted you, Yotam said, pulling Zainab into a hug that felt both desperate and genuine. I should have known. I'm your friend. I should have known. Others followed. Neighbors who had laughed at her stories, who had rolled their eyes at her lies, who had turned away when she screamed for help. They all came with apologies. We failed you. We should have listened. We are sorry. Zainab accepted their words. She nodded. She even hugged some of them back. But the heart lingered, sitting heavy in her chest like a stone she could not swallow. She understood why they had not believed her. She had given them every reason to doubt. But understanding did not erase the memory of standing alone, terrified, begging for help that never came. That evening, she found Connor on his balcony. Their spot. The place where this had all started to shift. The Lagos sky was doing that thing it does at sunset, turning the pollution and chaos into something almost beautiful. Orange and pink and purple bleeding together like watercolor. Thank you, Zainab said quietly, standing beside him. For what? For believing me when nobody else did. Connor turned to look at her, his expression serious in that way that made her feel both seen and safe. I believed you because I know you, Zainab. Not the character you performed for everyone else, but you. The real you. And the real you was terrified that day. That was not a lie. That was not a story. That was real fear, and I saw it. Zainab felt tears building again, but different tears this time. Not from pain, but from something softer. Something like relief. I don't know how to be the real me, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. I've been lying for so long, I don't even know where the truth starts anymore. Connor reached for her hand. Then let's find out together. Start small. Start with me. One truth at a time. Zainab took a deep breath. Okay. Truth number 1. She paused, gathering courage from somewhere deep. I never went to university. I couldn't afford it. I finished secondary school and went straight to work. No degree. No London. No King's College. Just secondary school certificate and a lot of dreams I couldn't reach. Connor nodded, his hand squeezing hers gently. Okay. What else? I've never left Lagos. Not even once. Not to Abuja, not to Calabar, nowhere. All those travel pictures were downloaded from Google and photoshopped. I've been standing in front of my laptop screen, pretending I was standing in front of the world. I figured as much, Connor said with a small, gentle smile. My father isn't a retired army general. Zainab's voice was stronger now, finding rhythm in the truth. He's a taxi driver in Ibadan. A good man. A hardworking man who calls me every Sunday to make sure I'm eating properly. I wanted people to think I came from something important. Someone important. Connor turned to face her fully now, both hands holding hers. And truth number 4. Zainab looked at him, her heart pounding in a completely different way now. Not from fear. From something terrifying and wonderful and real. I'm falling in love with you. And it scares me to death because it's real, and I don't know how to handle real things. I only know how to perform. How to pretend. But with you, I can't pretend. I don't want to pretend. Connor's smile was slow and genuine and filled with something that made Zainab's breath catch. He pulled her close, his forehead resting against hers in that gentle way he had. Truth number 1 from me, he said softly. I'm already in love with you. Have been for a while now. Since before you're ready to hear it. Since before I was ready to admit it. Even knowing I'm a liar. Zainab whispered. Even knowing you're human, Connor corrected gently. We all have flaws, Zainab. Yours were just louder than most people's. But you're trying now. You're changing. That's what matters. In the weeks that followed, Zainab began the slow, painful, beautiful work of rebuilding. Not her reputation, that would take time, maybe years, but herself. The real version. The honest version. When your turn asked how her day was, Zainab answered truthfully. Boring. I'm job hunting. It's frustrating and exhausting, and I sent out 15 applications today and had nothing back. That sounds terrible, Yutan said. It is, Zainab agreed. But it's the truth. And Yutan smiled. I like this version of you. Me too, Zainab said, surprised to discover she meant it. Musa's trial became public. More women came forward, their voices joining together into a chorus that could no longer be ignored or silenced. Zainab was called to testify. Standing in that courtroom, speaking her truth in front of strangers and lawyers and a judge who watched her with careful eyes, was one of the hardest things she had ever done. But Connor was there. Sitting in the front row. His eyes never leaving hers. A silent message, you are not alone. You are believed. You are seen. When the verdict came, guilty on multiple counts, Zainab felt something she had not felt in years. Freedom. Not freedom from consequences. Those would follow her. But freedom from the weight of living a lie. Freedom from the exhaustion of maintaining a facade. Freedom from the prison of her own making. Months later, Connor and Zainab were back on the balcony. Their favorite spot. The place where truth had first been offered and then, finally, accepted. I have something to tell you, Connor said, his voice carrying a nervous edge she rarely heard. Zainab's heart did a small jump. What is it? I got a job offer. In Abuja. It's a really good opportunity. Better pay, more responsibility, a chance to grow. Zainab felt her stomach drop, but she kept her voice steady. That's amazing, Connor. Really, really amazing. Come with me. The words hung in the air between them like something fragile and precious. What? Zainab breathed. Connor turned to face her fully, taking both her hands in his. Come with me. I know it's fast. I know we are still figuring things out. But I don't want to do this without you. I love you, Zainab. The real you. All of you. The messy parts, the scared parts, the parts still learning how to be honest. All of it. Zainab stared at him, her mind racing through 1,000 thoughts at once. The old Zainab would have lied. Would have made excuses. Would have run from something this real, this vulnerable, this utterly terrifying. But she was not the old Zainab anymore. Yes, she said, her voice clear and steady and true. Yes, I'll come with you. Connor's face transformed, breaking into the biggest smile she had ever seen. He lifted her off the ground, spinning her once, and Zainab laughed. A real laugh. Genuine. Unfiltered. Free. When he set her down, she looked at him and said, "One more truth." What's that? I'm scared, she admitted. Scared of messing this up. Scared of not being enough. Scared that one day you'll wake up and realize you made a mistake. Connor cupped her face gently in both hands, his thumbs brushing away tears she did not realize had fallen. Then let's be scared together, he said softly. But let's be honest together too. That's all I ask. No more hiding. No more performing. Just us. Just truth. Can you do that? Zainab nodded, her heart full of something that felt dangerously close to hope. I can try, she said. I can really, really try. And in that moment, on that balcony, with the Lagos night singing its chaotic song around them, Zainab understood something fundamental. She had spent her whole life creating elaborate lies to make herself seem more interesting, more important, more worthy of attention. But the truth, her truth, simple and ordinary and honest, was worth more than every fabrication she had ever constructed. Because truth, she was learning, was the only foundation strong enough to build a real life on. And real life, messy and imperfect and sometimes terrifyingly ordinary, was so much better than any story she could have invented. This is Folktales by Amora, reminding you that the most beautiful story you can tell is the one that is simply, honestly, courageously true.